Hi, Simon.
Hey, Tash.
Welcome to the Art of Life project. It's really good to have you here. Really good to have you on board with this conversation.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you for inviting and keeping the connection alive, as we said. So,
Yeah. Just to give everyone a bit of an introduction on you, Simon. Simon started off his career as an actor and was getting really dissatisfied with the surface level living that an actor's life was bringing him, and at the same time had loads of deeper questions on the meaning of life and his purpose for being there, really. So he started off the digital TV program Simon on the Sofa, which is basically about transparency, and that's how I came to your world, really. It was through the conversations that you were having. And I really loved the transparency that you bring to all your work, basically. It feels like that's kind of, being seen in a very transparent way, standing in your own space, standing in your own empowerment, and just kind of like, almost in a gentle way, just saying, this is me, from that sort of rooted, connected, divine space. It felt like that's where your work was coming from, and that's the connections that you're actually growing, expanding, teasing out of other people and yourself. So this conversation, I'm really excited to be having with you for the Art of Life project, because I just love that vibe that you have with the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yes, nice, and thank you for the acknowledgement, because it's not easy to put yourself out there fully transparent. And it was a question that I asked, which is, what is truth and what is love? And that's really what came out of it, was that if you want to know what truth and love is, you need to uncover all the lies that you've been holding. And I know you resonate with this from our conversation, as and you just described it beautifully before we speak now, about how you get pulled back to the layers, and another layer and another layer. So I think, my real freedom and liberation is in the transparency. So
brilliant. So with the Art of Life project is basically exploring, if we were to look at our lives as a work of art, and look at cultivating a life that's a work of art, what does that mean to you? What does that say to you?
Yeah, so as you said that, I'm seeing some colours and some like a picture, like a canvas. I used to do art when I was younger in school, so I see this canvas with some colours on. I saw blue and pink actually that popped up, and I think that for me, I've always had this saying, Tash, which is that when you wake up in the morning, you have a blank canvas to start painting your day again.
Yes.
And that, for me, our whole expression is that we're painting our life. And I think that for many years now, I didn't have this awareness when I was really young, but definitely when I become an actor and started to really tune into like Shakespeare and some other beautiful storytellers in the world, I started to really grasp this idea that everybody's, playing an act. It's like there's so many stories out there and everyone's telling their story.
Yeah.
So for me, the art of life means like, how are we painting? How are we the artists of our dream?
Yes.
How we really, and I mean with everything as well, Tash, with the thoughts we have, the way that we talk, the way we express, the way we dance. I mean, sometimes I feel that my clothing is quite simple, and it used to, when I was younger, I used to have this like, desire to be fashionable and have all, multiple shoes and all this. And then I went very simplistic and sort of renounced a lot of things in my life.
Yeah.
And funny you asked me this, because I just started to find that sort of colourful, playful, maybe wanting to wear some flamboyant hats or flamboyant clothes. I don't know where that's coming from, but recently I put a mask on. Actually, I found this mask in the house that I moved in, and it's just one of them cool masks. It's got 3 feathers coming out. I might even find it for you before the end of the call. I wore that out on the streets, and we did some sort of street performing, and I just had that, that sort of jovial Simon that's always in me, just coming out in the street. So it means for me just expressing yourself in a very, unique way. And I'm just going to throw in there one thing. Beyond the space where we sometimes get caught, which is like the look at me place, because I was in that for a long time. It's like, look at me, I've arrived, very much driven by my ego and that aspect of like needing to be seen. Yeah. And then when I started to really grasp that I'm the grand creator of my reality, then it was like, well, how do I want to express myself in a more flamboyant way?
Hey, love it. That's a different personality right there, definitely. A different layer of Simon. Fantastic. Fantastic. The thing is what you describe as the wanting to be seen, that kind of like ego element of self. To a large extent, it's the wanting. We want to be seen by ourselves first, and when that's not happening, we're really sort of like hungry on the outside. It's like, well, somebody see me. But really what we're begging for is for us to first acknowledge ourselves, and that's kind of like the crux of it right there. When you actually, you were talking previously about that shift of moving from that, wanting to be seen on the outside to actually really understanding that basically this, for you to have a connection on the outside, it has to come from the inside first.
And as you're saying that, for whatever reason, I've got mad sensations going up my right leg, all the way from my feet in my calf. And whenever I get these tingling sensations, I always associate them to just, tapping into a deeper knowing, if you want, a more of an absolute truth. Because, that's definitely what I experienced, Tash. It was. And it's not to put, I'm not one of those people who say you don't want the ego is bad, cut the ego off.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah. I'm not, it's just about, for me, very much about the feeling within. It was more of about this harmonious, peaceful feeling within, which then when you sort of move into that space, then you can express yourself with more integrity. And the word you use, that the way that I've done that is with more transparency, and that transparency has enabled me, to be more aligned with my art. Yes, so you could say, to be more aligned with my art. Yeah, and musicians find this art. Artists that are really painters find this, sculptures. Everyone that's even creating something. I'm sure engineers and I'm sure everybody at some point finds that like, wow, I'm in this sort of more harmonious flow, like water.
Absolutely. So this is kind of moving on quite nicely to the second question. How do you make your work your art? Yeah. Because work to me is very much our contribution to the planet. It's very much our contribution outwards, our expression outwards, where we, do something worthwhile to our souls. And so, how do you see that, making your work your art?
This is a really, all of your questions are great, but and I love your little contributions, and this has been a hard one. Yeah. It's really a hard one, and this is still sometimes a challenge. Yeah. And not that we're never going to get any challenges. I know you're very, very aware of them, because for me, shifting the word work into like art. Or play, or dance, just playing those, because that's where I'm like that. So this idea of work was I've struggled with, especially since 2007, when I had a real huge shift, you could say a peak experience. Yeah, I renounced myself so much, Tash, that I wanted to pull myself out of society, pull myself out of the monetary system, pull myself out of the general lies that I was uncovering within myself, but also noticing the lies in our society that were built from fear. Sure. And this is what I write about, and this is what I sort of invite people to look at. So what I had to go through a huge renouncing experience, and then come back with like, how am I going to now generate an income and sustain myself, and at least try to live live in this society, but not of this society, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And how do I find the people and the opportunities and the tribe that are also birthing, a new society that's coming out of the old, you could say. And, many people talked of old paradigm, new paradigm, and, we're still in it. We're still evolving into that, what Charles Eisenstein terms the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very much still on that, I'm rolling with that. I'm surfing that wave, Tash, It's like, how do I make, my play sustain me financially?
Yeah.
And I do that. I just try and do that from tuning into what feels right. Like, I've been offered so many different things, and I just, some I've tried and then I thought, no, I don't want that. Or I feel into it and it's like, that doesn't feel right. Even the way that I've presented myself sometimes, or tried to put myself in a certain place, or marketed myself in some way. And then I've just had to sort of trial and error. And I think where I am now, I'm feeling very grounded in what I'm living, to know that I can receive, because this is about a lesson in receiving as well.
Big time.
This is a lesson in receiving, and for me, because I'm a big supporter and I've given out a lot, and I'm happy. I was always very happy to give.
Yeah.
And I burnt myself out in 2011 and 12. I was stone broke. I was like, I had to call on my beautiful Simon on the Sofa tribe and community, small community that I have, but I called on them, and if they ever listen to this talk, I'm still in their deep gratitude for them, because they come through and ended up giving. I think I collected around £5,000 that from a multiple of different people, and they bought some of my products that I had at the time, and that kept me going for another 3 or 4 months. But that really instilled me with confidence to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yes. Yeah. And we were talking previously about this world experience, this life experience being very much a process of expansion. I think the biggest one that we have as humans, generally speaking, is that ability to receive element, because there's so much going on with, like, say, the law of attraction and abundance.
Right.
But if you don't feel like you're worth it, if you don't feel like you're grounded enough and you can actually accept it, if you're kind of shying away from your own abundance, then it could be slapping you in the face left, right and center. Do you know what I mean? It's not really getting in there. And if it does get in there and you aren't feeling worthy of it, it dissipates instantly. Do you know what I mean? Because you yourself will say, this doesn't fit right with me. This isn't fitting. So a lot of work, the peeling off of the layers, a lot of work is also the peeling off of the layers of being able to receive, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw something in there. I know we might be moving along, but this is such a beautiful topic for people, because I've witnessed so many people from coaching them and them struggling with what you're talking about, what we're talking about. And the key is that, even now I'm going on a deeper layer of this core unworthiness that we all have, this core unworthiness, which is even deeper than just the I'm unworthy.
Yeah.
It's so layered of like 2,000, 3,000 years old. It's been deeply indoctrinated into us. And even it's only been, I was reading a beautiful article on this recently. It's only really, you could say, in the last 100 years that we've started as a species to even consider coming out of this.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people get caught up in is that some people are just not ready. So they might be thinking, I want to make money, I want to do this, I've got this to say, I've got that to say, but you're not actually ready for what you've projected for you to experience far ahead. Then you can get caught up in this idea that, the world's abundance and everybody should be abundant and everybody should have money, and that sometimes also causes people even more conflict, because they're not the ones making it, and then they start thinking that they're even more unworthy because they're not making it. And you get into this vicious cycle of catch-22, because when you look at the monetary system as we know it at the moment is not designed for everybody to have money. This is a really key point that a lot of people bypass. It doesn't mean that everybody can't get money, or you can't pull yourself forward, or you can't, progress and get your basic needs met. However, you have to understand that still in circulation, 5% of the population own 95% of the wealth.
Yeah.
So I'm just talking on a monetary level, not on a real wealth level. Because on a real wealth level, we're talking about what is your wealth when you've got no money.
Yes.
And this is what people miss. This is where I tapped into. I sort of did it reverse round. I was tapping into my wealth and I was feeling my abundance, but I wasn't knowing how to link the two into the society's financial aspect. So I was feeling this like massive connection to the abundance of all it is, fully supported, people guiding me, giving me things, giving me cars. I was given places to stay. And I was like, wow, it's so abundant. But then I was finding myself, damn, I can't pay my phone bill because I still need, £500 this month.
Liquid cash.
I still need some liquid cash to pay. Yeah. And as much as people would give me money, I'd find things. It was still scraping, So anyway, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to ground that in as well.
No, and it's definitely worth, because sometimes I think as well, people can actually, or society generally can project that feeling of, if you don't have a certain amount, if you're not earning a certain amount, if you're not doing certain things, then you're a failure.
Right.
And this, I mean, as I'm sure you have, traveling, I mean, you could sort of go to some of the most amazing places where people that they don't have the same concepts. They don't even have a bank. Do you know what I mean? Far less for anything else. And they're loving their life. They're absolutely loving their life. Right. And as soon as they come across that kind of like societal Western thing, where it kind of starts to bombard them in their little community of, you must have this and you must this and da da, and life doesn't mean it if you don't have these and da 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 da.
Right.
There's a deep-seated sort of dissatisfaction that starts to bubble up. Whereas it wasn't there before, it really wasn't there before. Yeah. So I think to a large extent it's coming to the perspective, really. We always need to put these things into perspective as well.
Yeah, but you just summarised that so beautifully, because, I get messages from people that are living with no money and they are just so, like you just said, so happy. Yeah. And I feel that that's where we're moving to as well. Not that we're just going to live with no money, but just for people just need to shift their perspective, like you just said. That's all. And then you'll realize how you are already a miracle.
Yes.
You're already enough.
Absolutely.
You're already full of gratitude. And okay, you're not earning $100,000 a month or a week or a year, but get over it.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So the final question is basically, how do you tap into your inner creator or your inner artist? Because aligning ourselves with that part of ourselves is for me basically how we cultivate that life that is our work of art, is our masterpiece. So how do you do it? How do you tap into your own inner creator?
Beautiful question. And I had to just quickly tell somebody, I was listening to you and I know you gave me the question. I had to tell somebody that I'm going to be 10 more minutes. So,
right, okay.
Beautiful. I mean, I don't know if you've read The Artist's Way by Julian Cameron.
I've come across that book so many times, but I haven't read it actually.
Okay, and I meet so many people that have either read it or not read it.
Yeah.
So I'm one. I haven't read the whole book. I've read chapters of it.
Yeah.
And one of the tools that my friend Lucianne Holmes gave me, way back now when we were acting in theatre school. So I was that was whatever. I must have been 21, 22. And she introduced me to morning pages. And morning pages is basically a writing practice where you write 3 pages of A4 paper, stream of consciousness. You just write it down, whatever comes out. I woke up feeling tired, stomach ache, farted, burped, thinking about birds outside. You just write, stream of consciousness, get it all out, get the noise out.
Yeah.
And that was really hugely. I set this for everybody, and so many people, Tash, just don't get it. Yeah. They won't stick with it for long enough to understand the power, the simple power in writing our thoughts onto a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And for me, this is just because I know I can give you a few others. Meditation's one that I now use, and just sitting in silence, deep breathing, eye gazing, like we said earlier. Sharing circles. I mean, me and my partner, we share religiously, regularly, and at least we have a big sharing once a week and just share what's happening. Although saying that, it's not fully transparent because we haven't had one for about 3 weeks. But I've had one yesterday with my friend who I'm working with, and we had an hour and a half sharing.
Yeah.
And just getting out the fodder, the noise.
Yes. Yeah.
Afterwards, not only do you feel free, in fact, I'm going to use your beautiful word, expanded.
Yes. Yeah.
That all of a sudden the creativity can flow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways. I mean, I know some people can do exercise, Tai Chi. I do yoga as well. I mean, you know what, Tash? I'm a little bit like, I called it the other day. I've got like this conscious ninja rucksack. Yeah. and what goes in the conscious ninja rucksack is like, I want to have tools, man, that can connect me, that plug me in when need be. Or how am I feeling? I need morning pages.
Yeah.
What's going on today, man? I better do some sun salutations.
I love that. Because at the end of the day, we have to consciously cultivate it. I mean, it doesn't do itself. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, left up to chance, your mind just flitters and flutters all over the place. Right. You have to actually bring it in and cultivate it for it to actually make sense. So I absolutely love that bag. Your bag of tricks.
Yeah, you know what, and I love your choice of words, Tash, and just that expansion and cultivation. I love the word cultivation. My friend Pepe uses that, and he's deeply into permaculture. And when I say to people, these are the two questions I ask people when I coach. I don't like the word coaching it. When I journey with people, is I say, what is your daily practice? And what is your morning ritual? And then I just try to give them tools, for example, switch off your phone for the first hour when you wake up, plug in, read something positive, memorize something, pick up your favorite book, read the chapter, go and read something you've written yourself, listen to that perfect bit of music, plug yourself in first, then enter the world, like you just said, cultivating the way that you want to walk out into the world. Some people say put up the purple balloon, put up anything, man. put up your ninja rucksack, put on your armor, and then go out there in the world.
Absolutely. You are such a beautiful spirit, Simon. I'm really glad we had this conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy we connected.
Absolutely.